This is Around the Globe with Dr. G. Now, I know that you're not just a prosecutor, you're also an evangelist. Now, as an evangelist, where do you see the greatest barriers to evangelism, especially here in the UK? And a follow up question: what are those barriers and what can we do to overcome them, if anything at all?
Barriers.
Barriers to evangelism.
This world is going, it would seem, further and further and further away from God.
Okay.
How do you draw people into the knowledge of God? How do you introduce God to people? How do you get people to accept Christ? And I think that that challenge continues to increase because, for example,
Yes.
in the workplace or in many workplaces, you're not encouraged to evangelize. You may speak to one person, you may want to encourage one person, but to actually share your faith and try and evangelize to others, it's frowned upon, and that's putting it mildly.
Yeah. So that's a barrier for sure.
That is a huge barrier. And you find in certain quarters where, for instance, some nurses are Christians
Yeah.
and they feel that in their compassionate state, they want to pray for a patient. And that becomes a problem. And that becomes a matter that is taken to the bosses, which may indeed lead to the sacking of that person.
Oh, that's really sad. Just for prayers.
Just for wanting to pray.
Just wanting to pray.
That's, and, you know, I feel that unfortunately, the devil is working hard in every conceivable quarter to stop the spread of the word. But Satan can only try.
That's right.
God will always prevail.
That's right.
God will always prevail. I mean, there have been people who have gone to who have had to pay fines. I recall I don't know if she was a an attendant on the plane, a stewardess, and she had her chain on, which had a cross. And her work authorities frowned upon that.
Wow.
They wouldn't let her wear a cross. And you have, well, depending on what side you stand in relation to LGBTQ, that's the gay and lesbians. There was a hotel that didn't want to accommodate this couple, and the matter went to court. They were prosecuted. So there are so many barriers against the Christian and sharing your word, but you just continue to strive to find ways of ministering and sharing the word with people. You can do it in your lunch break.
Yeah.
You speak to one person and it could just come up in a conversation. Just let the Lord minister to you and tell you the right time and the right people, the
Yes.
correct moment to just get in there and just drop the word. Because it's for you to share the word. It's for the Lord to do the convicting of the heart.
That is true. It does take a lot of wisdom. It does take the leading of the Spirit as
Yes,
well.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I recall a time. There was a time, maybe just a few months ago in Arizona. there was a pastor that was preaching on the street outside his church,
Yes.
and some guys were driving by and they shot him.
Oh
They
no.
shot him, and he was left for dead. But thank God, it's now like a couple of months. He's recovering in the hospital. He's doing better. But this is the kind of world that we
Yes.
live in where,
Unfortunately.
unfortunately, he was just outside his church, just preaching on the street. And
Yes.
some guys that were just driving by just shot him. It's really shocking
It is.
and unfortunate.
It is.
Finally, Mrs. Opaleke, I want to ask you, as an evangelist, what would be your message to the world? What do you want to say to the world as an evangelist?
What I would like to say is that I do hope that the message is preached to the entire world. And I would encourage all Christians not to keep quiet. Spread the word, continue to spread the word, and live the world. Because sometimes people read you rather than read the Bible.
That is true.
So live a life that is worthy of Christ. Be Christ like in every place that you find yourself. Be a soldier for Christ. And perhaps just continue to spread the word as much as you can, in spite of everything that you may see happening around you, in spite of any form of discouragement. Continue, and at the end of the day, we shall all reap the reward.
Wow, wow, wow. Very, very well said, Mrs. Opaleke. Again, we just want to thank you. This is Around the Globe with Dr. G, and we've had as our guest Mrs. Opaleke, a prosecutor and an evangelist. Thank you so much
It's
for
been
taking
my
the time.
pleasure.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.